Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, the podcast, as always, hosted by me, Chris, coming in hot on that intro. It's a hot intro. It's too hot for the ears. Welcome, everybody. This is episode number 246 of the podcast. As always, if you want to keep up with me and everything that I do, you could check me out on Twitter and Instagram, both at Casting for Two. Also, if you would like to follow me, I'm part of the constantly calibrating streaming buddies over on Mixer. So if you want to check out when I stream various video games, you can do that. I usually announce it on the Casting for Two Twitter, and also my Mixer is mixer.com/MrCMH93. And of course, I got to talk about Ramble Jam, the new podcast that I do with Josh Silverman of constantlycalibrating.com. It's a lot of fun. It's every Wednesday at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. And you listen to us for an hour, talk about who knows what. I don't even know what we talk about sometimes. I just say go, and next thing I know, there goes an hour. So go listen to that. And I should talk about my guest for today. My guest is a wonderful person. She's a very talented individual. She's a model. She's a pilot, but also she does escorting as well, companionship. And we were brought together by one Brooke Mason, who's been on the show. And it's so great to chat with you, Amy. Very wonderful person. But I feel like we should get into this episode and listen to it. So, Chris, cue the music, please. Start out, it's funny because I've been doing this for a bit now, and it started out very procedural, and then just later on down the road, I was just like, let's just chat. I'm tired of stiff Chris. Let's just loosen up.
Well, and people really are hungry for authenticity, so I think that's the new cool, is something that's more authentic, right? More real.
Right, exactly. And I'm a big believer in, keeping it real. So if somebody has, bad audio, or if something happens in the middle, I generally like to keep it in because that's what happened. So
good for you.
But yeah, let me just say, some of the worst audio situations I've had, they're always with musicians.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had one guy who started doing the dishes in the middle.
Oh, that's interesting as a choice.
Right, and you'd think, musicians get sound quality, and nope, he just put me on speakerphone and started doing his dishes. I'm like, okay.
Well, it's very real. I guess I'm surprised you would have had to mention maybe don't do dishes while we're talking. But
they were important, and I didn't want to keep him from work, so why not?
I hope I have a little dog sitting next to me, so all I'm hoping is that nothing happens outside that gets him to stand up and start barking.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've had experiences with dogs barking, usually on my end. So yeah, that's no problem.
Okay, well, hopefully he's asleep right now, so If I put him outside the room, he will definitely bark, trying to get back in.
Right, yeah.
So we'll hope for the best here. He's passed out at the moment.
But are you ready to do this?
Sure.
All right.
I am ready. Let's do it.
There we go. We're doing it to it. But one of the things that I like to know as far as the podcast goes is sleep patterns.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay, well,
I'm curious, how much sleep are you getting?
I sleep a lot. I slept 9 hours last night. I almost always get 7 or 8. Some days, if I've slept very little the night before, I'll sleep for 10 hours. There are nights, like if I have to get up early for a flight,
Mm-hmm.
like if, 6 a.m. wheels up, that means I've got to get up at like 3:30. It's pretty hard to go to bed the night before at like 7:30, which is what I would need to get a full 8 hours. I've tried to go to bed that early, but then you just lay there awake, right? It's too early. So there are nights that I only get 3 or 4, but I'm a big sleeper. My whole family is. We're not the kind who can like pull those 2 and 3 hour nights. Again, I don't know if that's genetic or I'm just lazy, but I get a lot of sleep. I love it.
Gotcha.
I love dreaming. Dreaming's amazing. You can like be anything you want in your dreams. I think it's rad, right?
Yeah, it's like being an actor, but it's an achievable goal, I guess. Sleeping,
and it makes even less sense than like a normal plot. It's like these senseless plots that somehow you don't pick up on it while you're dreaming. That it makes no sense what's happening, but that's kind of the fun of it, right?
Right. Exactly.
So no, I sleep a lot.
Okay. But what is your schedule like?
Well, like I was saying, it depends. Like my body likes to go to bed around 10 or 11, get up at, 6 or 7 with this when the sun is kind of fully up. It feels good. I don't like to get up when it's still dark. Mm-hmm. That said, there are lots of mornings I have to. But, if I have to fly early, I have to get up early. I don't love it, but, I set 2 alarms and force myself out of bed. And then, some nights if I'm working on the computer, catching up with something, I can end up going to bed at more like 1 or 2 a.m. The time kind of slips away from you when you're working on things. But I'm not a huge party animal. Like I'm not usually the one still out at last call. I like to go out to dinner and have a drink, but I'm usually either snuggled up with someone or snuggled up alone with my dog by like midnight or 1. I'm pretty lame that way. The only time I can stay out really late in is Vegas.
Okay.
Well, that's because it doesn't feel late. You can be out at 4 a.m. in Vegas and everyone's out. It feels like it's like 10 o'clock at night. So, somehow Vegas knocks my rhythm off. And I have stayed up till like 7 a.m. many times there, but somehow only there. And, I'm pretty, like, I don't drink a ton. I definitely don't do drugs. So it's hard to stay up late if you don't like add substances to your body.
Right.
So, and I don't do that. So, I guess that's why. And frankly, I'd probably rather be in bed with somebody than out partying with somebody. It depends who the somebody is, right?
Yeah. Well, see, I've been the most Vegas I've ever had is the Vegas airport, and that's it.
You've never been to Vegas?
I've never done the Vegas experience. I don't know if I can anymore, just because I've pretty much quit drinking.
Well, it's still fun sober.
That's true.
That is unacceptable that you've never like gone a little hog wild. Okay, sober hog wild in Vegas.
I've never done that, and I'd love to do New Orleans.
Yeah. Oh, you've never done that either. You should do that this year. Both of those things.
All right. I'm gonna end this conversation. I'm gonna go right now to both those places. No, because out of my friends, they're all kind of half of them are family men, and the other side are still drinkers, and I'm just in that like I don't feel like it.
Sure, mine too. I just hit my 40s, and like every single one of my girlfriends has a tiny baby now because they all kind of played that roulette, like waited as long as they could, got married at like 37, 38, had a kid just recently. And I feel you, the same thing. Like none of my friends are like partying anymore. And the ones who are, they're not okay. So like, I have a couple girlfriends who are like 45 and still like partying hard. I don't need that in my life anymore.
Right. Yeah. The most partying I do is like, I'll watch 2 movies in the movie theater.
You are a wild thing, sir.
I know. You know what? I can't help it.
I'm intimidated by your. That's like, I don't know.
I'm sorry. If I do tend to intimidate people. I hold the door open for people. I push in my chair. I'm just that guy.
That's good. Maybe that's the Texas in you, or maybe you were always that way.
I feel like no, that's a parent thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they instilled that in me.
Good for mom and dad. Thank
Right.
you. Thank you to mom and dad on behalf of all women and all people, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing wrong with manners. So yeah, no sleep. I mean, it's not always the exact same hours. I'm not that rigid, but yeah, I like it. And you know what's weird? Like, I get very specific. Like, I like it kind of cool in the bedroom, and I like it kind of dark, and
Mm-hmm.
like it. I've gotten a little bit specific in how I like to sleep. That
Gotcha.
said, I mean, you know how it is. If you get tired enough, you'll sleep anywhere.
Right, right. And so when you wake up, what are you like a worker outer in the morning? One of these fancy seagrass shot kind of people in the morning?
No, yeah, I have a good body, but some of it's store bought and most of it's genetics. I eat
Hmm.
like cheese and pizza, and I had a photo shoot 2 days ago, and you don't eat that much before the photo shoot in the
Right.
morning because you want that nice flat belly. It looks better on camera.
Yeah.
And I get home and I ate an entire pizza, and I fell asleep on my couch with a piece of pizza on my chest.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, super. So when I woke up in the morning, the pizza was like on the cushion. That was it. So very, very glamorous life I lead here.
And then
So no,
you're just like, hey, breakfast.
yeah, it was perfect. Had it not been stuck to the fabric. No, this most mornings it's coffee. I'm not a huge breakfast eater.
Hmm.
Um, you know, if you eat a lot for breakfast, you kind of get that food coma thing, and usually I have stuff to do in the morning. Working out, yeah, I like to work out, but the first thing I do is walk the dog. He's got to be walked in the morning. So
Okay.
I live right on the sand on the beach. So take him out to the beach, walk on the sand. The sun has usually just come up, 6:37, 7:30, so it's beautiful. And I drink my coffee and then shower, go work out. Sometimes I've got to answer some emails. Travel days, I immediately jump in the shower and then go to the airport. Um, but home days, it's usually, yeah, to the gym where I lift and I do cardio and then I do some yoga. And then back to, home computer work stuff if I'm here.
Hmm.
And again, if it's a travel day, then the routine's completely different. It's airports and hotels and just depends where I'm going, right? And
Yeah.
there's no exercise on those days. I don't exercise on the road. I don't want to haul around sweaty workout gear stuff.
Right.
Um, so yeah, the routine is one thing at home and totally different thing on the road, which is,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Do you ever just on the road maybe overpack your suitcase and just kind of lift it over your head? Be like,
Uh,
that's my workout.
I could. That's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that. No, I don't work out at all. I order room service in a hotel room and I put on the robe and I binge watch movies.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's absurd. Like I love a hotel and room service. I just love that idea that they like bring you your sandwich and you are in your robe and it's so lazy and awesome. And they rip you off. It's like $18 for like a sandwich, but it's
Right.
so no, I don't even do like stretches or anything. And I see those people in the hotel gym. Aren't you impressed by those people that are on a business trip and then they go work out? Like I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
But
it's cool, but it's also like, who are they trying to impress?
I feel a little anger toward them too. It's envy actually, but yeah, I don't work out on the road at all. So maybe I will, but just not my thing. Do
Gotcha.
do it when I get home. I have a personal trainer here at home. She's like this little blonde 24-year-old ray of sunshine. She's like a little cheerleader for me while I do the stuff she tells me to do.
There we
So
go. Yeah, while she's making you cry, she's so cheery.
she is. She's like a little dominatrix, and I pay her for that service.
Right.
But the accountability of having an appointment with somebody. Then if you don't show up, there's someone mad at you, and that helps you do it. And also, you paid for it, so you're like, I guess I better go.
Right. Right.
Um, but so yeah, that's the typical routine. It's pretty beachy, flip flops, yoga pants. I live that very typical Southern California Lululemon wearing girl at Starbucks. I'm like a basic white girl, right? It's pretty, pretty typical.
Yeah, and as far as your career goes, because you have a very a fascinating couple of careers.
Right?
What came first? The modeling, the escorting, the piloting, like all like what's
Yeah. So people in LA, we call ourselves hyphenators. There's
okay,
a
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who do more than one thing anymore.
Right.
You, probably, me. And yeah, one of them fascinates people, the being a companion thing. But yeah, so modeling was first. I was a teenager at a shopping mall in Sacramento,
Hmm.
and Scout asked me if I wanted to model, and my father thought he was a pedophile creep, but it turned out he was not. He was an actual photographer that owned a modeling agency. And so we did some photos. My dad came with me to the shoot to make sure the guy wasn't like the local axe murderer. Um, and I did some runway, but then I stopped growing. I'm only 5'6",
Hmm.
so editorial and runway were kind of out of the picture as I turned like 16, 17 and didn't turn out to be tall. But so I did some fitness and some clothing catalogs and stills. And then I actually did pageants when I was a teenager. Um, so I kind of have always done that part-time. And like anything else, once you're reliable and have integrity and you're a known commodity, then people keep calling as long as you still look okay, right?
Hmm.
Uh, and then the pilot thing, so my grandpa was a pilot, so he had a plane, and I was flying all the time with him when I was young. Uh, and then during college and graduate school, I was flying as a hobby.
Hmm.
And I wanted to fly bigger, faster stuff, and that gets real expensive as a hobby. I don't have that kind of money, so but I had a little bit of money because of the third career, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
So I decided I wanted to fly commercially so that I could fly turboprops and jets and be able to. That was something I couldn't do on my own dime, right? I have to do it for a living.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've flown cargo. I've flown a Citation Jet 1 with an owner operator as his first officer. I've flown at King Air, same way with an owner operator. And then I've been a flight instructor for years, flying small single and multi-engine piston aircraft with flight students. So I've flown lots of different aircraft. And then the third thing, the thing that's sort of interesting to people is, yeah, I'm a high-end companion to a handful of guys, and I've done that ever since 2002,
Hmm.
which is about 6 months after I moved to LA. I was in graduate school. I was heartbroken after getting dumped. I was broke after getting dumped by a guy who had been older and wealthy. And, that happens to a lot of pretty girls. The older wealthy guys come and dazzle you. And, your choice is either you could date the college guy who doesn't even have his own room, or you could date the 30-year-old doctor. And I got seduced by somebody much more glamorous and about 10 years older. And then when he broke up with me, as they often do,
Hmm.
I had been exposed to a lot of nice stuff. And he didn't want me to have a job. He wanted me to be available on his schedule and just go to school. I did my undergrad at Berkeley, and he was a doctor at a nearby hospital.
Hmm.
And yeah, we worked out this deal. He moved me out of my sorority house and into an apartment because he wasn't able to spend the night in my sorority house. No boys allowed.
Yeah.
And he didn't want me to have a job because he wanted me to be able to go to Tahiti or to the opera or whatever when he had time. And if I had been a college student with two part-time jobs, our schedules never would have matched. So over the 7 years or so that I dated him, he sort of started being financially responsible for me gradually. It wasn't something I looked for,
Hmm.
the traditional gold digger sense of the word, but it was something that made sense. I had no money as a student. He had a lot of money as somebody older with a major career. And that's kind of just how it starts happening. And then when he dumped me, got a new one, I guess. I had, been going to like Four Seasons hotels and Tahiti, all this stuff for like 8 years. And I
Yeah.
was I was basically an escort before I was an escort. And I had heard of escorting. I didn't need to do it because I basically had this older rich boyfriend, but that's when I was like, oh, I guess I'll just do this because it's basically what I've been doing. And I knew a girl who had done that in college, and so I looked at the internet and figured I just needed a picture and a name and an email address and a phone, and the rest was history. Maybe I got lucky, but the first couple people that I met, I'm still very good friends with one of them.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, he's lovely. He's an East Coast billionaire, and he treats me great, and he's my friend. And I'm friends with lots of my former clients, or whatever you want to call them. I think of them as friends, and the fact that they've been very good to me is not awkward for any of us. I realize what the world thinks of it, but I completely disagree. And newsflash, it's a lot more common than people think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just because it's just that thing where people live in their own bubble, and then once they hear something else exists, they're like, I don't agree with it.
okay, I get it that one person has a lot more money than they need and they can use that to get access to a person who's perhaps younger than what they could get or more beautiful than what they could get, or they get extra people, they're married to one and they can have two or three others. And maybe some people think that's unfair, like it's too much entitlement for the rich guy, or they think it's unfair for the pretty girl. It's too much entitlement that she gets to fly around on private jets with rich guys instead of, putting in the work of being good to a young guy while he struggles to climb up the ladder. I get all that sort of hatred wrapped up in envy over the privilege that comes along with beauty and also wealth, because
Mm-hmm.
those two, being wealthy or being beautiful, does make your reality very different. And it's fleeting, I'm going to lose my beauty very soon here. And there are wealthy men who sometimes are no longer wealthy and then nobody's very nice to them anymore, right? But life is not fair. And when you look like I look, yeah, you get the guys, instead of offering to buy you a pizza, there's a guy standing there offering to buy you a car. And not
Right.
and not demanding to fuck you. It's not as like it's not what people think. Guys don't say I'm going to give you, I'm going to pay your rent, so bend over. It's nothing like that. Like it's they maybe are using money as a facilitator to date a girl that they just wouldn't meet. Most of these guys are really busy. All they do is work.
Mm-hmm.
And beautiful women aren't where they are. And money is the sort of lubricant that connects rich men to beautiful women. And both of those people tend to want to hang out with each other. I
Mm.
liked the kind of men that I met escorting. So anyway, yeah, long story short, that started in grad school about 15 years ago.
That's
And,
okay.
and I've always done all three kind of together.
Is it weird that instead of somebody buying me the fancy car, I will gladly take the pizza?
You might be the guy, the girl, or I guess girl in your case, whatever it is you date,
Yeah.
might be nicer. And that is, yeah, I mean, using your leverage to materially take care of yourself. Okay, maybe that isn't the world's best thing to do. It's also not the world's worst. I don't think people should be so angry about it. But if we're going to talk about dating somebody that you only like and don't love, well, then we're going to have to be mad at all of like Tinder and all of one
Mm,
night stands. And people often date without the full enchilada of love. And and if they date because somebody bought them a pizza, or they were just lonely and bored, or it was for connection, or people used to marry for like family names. I don't think they loved
right.
her. Like in Victorian England, right? You married who your parents told you to for the family empire. There was no love. I think love is obviously the best reason to date, but it isn't always there. And should you just sit home alone? I don't know. So yeah, pizza would be fine too, though. I mean, yeah. I mean, people seek people for all kinds of reasons, and as long as you're not abusing somebody, I mean, I think the key is consent, right? As long as you're not doing something to somebody that they don't want done to them, then how bad could it really be, right?
Yeah, and then so as somebody who's done it, companionship for a while now, what do you get out of it now versus back when you were younger?
Well, okay, for like nobody gets into it for because they're anything but broke, because
Right.
otherwise you would just date, for free, right? So obviously in the beginning there was financial need. I was in grad school. I had big, massive bills that needed to be paid immediately. The agreement had been that my boyfriend would pay for grad school, and then I was, as I said, unceremoniously dumped.
Mm-hmm.
Probably should have dropped out of grad school and gotten a job, but that's not what I did. Instead, I kept going to grad school and became an escort. And that was to pay for it. I also, though, was lonely and kind of bitter because I'd just broken up with somebody. So I kind of wanted to date, but nothing serious in the way that you sometimes do when you're heartbroken.
Right.
You want to just kind of sow your oats, as they say, whether that's sexual or just going out to dinner. So it kind of hit all the marks for me. Financial, it provided a social life with men, and it kept things from being too serious because I really wasn't interested in super serious for many years. Now, some of these people I've been friends with for over a decade, and as my career as an escort evolved, some things happened that were very good, but some things also happened that were very, very bad. And because of those, it's probably the best way for me to date right now. I don't have a husband. I don't have kids. If a friend of mine that I've been friends with for 15 years wants to go skiing, as is the case next weekend. I'm going to Aspen, Colorado with somebody I've known for 15. No, and I really like him. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
And sure, money's nice and private jets are nice and skiing's nice, but what am I going to just stay home alone? Um, so what keeps me in it is probably boredom and loneliness. That sounds super pathetic, doesn't it?
No. I mean, I get it. I get it.
And then, yeah, as I said, some things happened that were pretty awful. And sometimes you can have, and I hate to use the word stuck, but you can get on a path that you didn't foresee everything that would happen.
Mm-hmm.
That can happen in life.
Right.
I'm okay with my choices, but some of them have kind of kept me in a way that I didn't foresee. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you said earlier that, you used to model and then you stopped. What made you go back to modeling?
Oh, well, I didn't model much in grad school because I was just too busy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've become very fit as I've gotten older. So I've transitioned into a lot of fitness modeling because my body is just kind of a little shredded. So that sells well. Like I'll be on the cover of Muscle and Fitness next month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yay.
Nice.
So yeah, I just go back to it because it's kind of the same thing. They keep calling, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to like just be in grad school and not tell people that I modeled because some people judge that, and certainly not tell people that I was an escort because people judge that a lot. And those plans did not work out, right? As they never do, of course.
Right.
So now everyone that I've ever gone to school with from Berkeley and before, my family, most of my friends, they are aware of the choices that I've made. And the funny thing about using your beauty, whether it's as an escort or as a model, is that people sort of hang on to that forever. Like once you've done Playboy, you could be 50 years old and people will still call you a former Playboy model.
Right.
You can have been an escort and you could be a lawyer and a wife and a mother and 20 years retired and everyone will remember that you were an escort. And I don't know if other careers are like that, but the fact that I've done what I've done and people can't it's too titillating for people, is part of what keeps me going back to it. Because if you're going to pay the fiddler, you might as well dance, right?
Right.
If I have to deal with the fact that I am judged and people love to focus on this, then I'm going to go ahead and have fun. Because I lost the opportunity to keep it hidden. I didn't quite get that lucky like some do. So I don't mind. It's a lot easier not to have to hide things.
Yeah. And so, like you were saying, hiding things. Is it weird seeing yourself on, like, in magazines and stuff like that?
Sometimes. The weirdest part is the social media people who like think they have this kind of relationship with you because they follow you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I get a lot of marriage proposals from Pakistan.
Oh.
Like I get a lot of Indian men asking if I want to marry them. I don't know what that's about on the internet. So if I ever want to do that, it seems like it'd be a good exit strategy. But yeah, that's kind of weird because it's a sort of one-way thing, right? Where people, and I don't know that people know, but it requires an entire team to make you look like that. So when people love these photos and these magazine covers, I hope they know that like no one really looks like that. That's 2 hours of makeup, an hour of hair. It's hair extensions. It's body bronzer. It's a wardrobe stylist. It's Photoshop afterwards. Nobody actually looks like that. I invited a friend to come on set once, and she came, and she was like, "Oh, you're completely covered in body oil, and you have like 8 inches of makeup on your face. Like you look ridiculous."
Yeah.
So, I told you. But production is. The end result is a fantasy, just like a movie. When you're watching a Marvel movie, that's not real either.
Right.
And so it's sort of, I think that it's beauty, the art that they create, but I don't know how much some of these magazine covers are a real person anymore. They're kind of a creation, vaguely based on a person.
Right. It's all just photoshopped into something.
It is. They make you so shiny now. Right? Nobody's that shiny in real life.
We need more shine.
They do. They spray you with spray olive oil. They do, for real.
Okay. Is that because it refracts light or something like that?
Yeah, you're completely oily the entire day. So
Gotcha.
yeah, it's not like hot. You look like an eel.
And it's probably like it sucks to walk or sit anywhere because it's like, ah, crap.
Yeah, and you gotta take a shower
Oh
afterwards.
my.
And you pose all day for like 8 hours, so you also sweat and stink by the end of the day.
And then if you're outside, you're probably gonna cook, right?
Cook or freeze,
Yeah.
alternate. Yeah, and try to look happy while you're like either freezing or sweating your guts up. Yeah, it's not as glamorous. And sometimes when you shoot in the middle of the desert, you're hiking to the spot.
Yeah.
So it's not hard. It's actually idiotically easy to just stand there and be cute. But it's art, and it sells a fantasy. And to the extent that people get some jolt of serotonin by looking at, half naked photos of a very shiny olive oil covered woman, I I will continue to provide that content if it makes the world happy. I'm fine by me.
There we go. And so, do you have any like modeling horror stories?
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm not going to name names,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
there's a few famous photographers who are very well known who try very hard to sleep with you and punish you if you don't. And by punish, I mean like take away your magazine covers and put some, like the editors work with the photographers whose work they know and trust. And, they'll try to get you to come to their house. And if you don't, then suddenly your cover doesn't come out and some other girl's on the cover, right?
Yeah,
And
some other shinier girl.
shinier and evidently friendlier to the photographer, probably. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
that happens a lot, like a lot, a lot. And I have no problem with girls who sleep their way to the top. But when I fuck, I like it to be my choice and my consent.
Right.
Whatever.
As it should be, right?
Anybody, I don't want to
Right.
be forced because I wanted that cover. And I guess that's just me. I mean, if some girl's like, I want that cover and I'm willing to sleep with the guy, you go, girl, do it. Have fun. I hope it's decent. But I get very angry when they surprise me with that because I don't, like when it's happened to me, I wasn't ready for it. I didn't know that was going to be the deal. So it kind of
Mhm.
made me mad, right? They had told me earlier, you can be on the cover of Playboy, but you're going to have to fuck this guy. Then at least I would have known and could have made a decision. Uh, but besides that, those sleazebag guys, and they usually get discovered pretty quickly, and there's plenty of internet intel on those guys now.
Right, right.
It kills their careers eventually.
That's,
Um,
I mean, that's kind of the culture that's been going on these past couple of months. Even though it's horrifying to hear about, it's also great that it's now public knowledge.
yeah, thanks for saying that. I think it's hopefully we can arrive somewhere in the middle where if people do meet at work and they like each other and there's consent, then that's okay. I mean, look, my dad was my mom's professor.
Hmm.
Nowadays, my dad would have been fired for what happened. But my parents have been married for 50 years. They're completely in love, and they're the reason that my sister and I exist.
Right.
So I don't really know what to say about workplace shenanigans because my father definitely had power over my mom. She was his student. They say that they didn't date till she was finished with his class. I have no idea if that's true or not. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But in the case of my own parents, it was a workplace shenanigan that turned into a 50-year loving marriage. So hopefully we can arrive at a place where if people meet at work and they want to hook up, that can be different from some sort of predatory situation where one person is forcing another. Yeah, because people do meet at work and sometimes they do like each other.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get there. It's like you said, been a big shakeout in the last few months at work, and I guess the first step to getting anywhere with things is talking about them, right?
Right.
Kudos to you for talking to an escort because I think the more the world sees women and men like me as human beings, maybe the less they'll hate us and think it's okay to murder us. You know?
Right. Right.
I think if people knew that yoga teacher they have or that, person that is at the grocery store next to them might be an escort too, and that's just another human, maybe that'll help.
It's I've become fascinated with just this culture because I remember reading a Tumblr blog about like webcam girls and how how they're treated and how they're, they're, of course, they're people too. And it's just all fascinating to me, how just because somebody is in a certain job that they are, that means, oh, we have to treat them that way because that's what they deserve. No, at the end of the day, we're all people. So
Sure. And people do different jobs at different times in their lives.
hmm
I have a girlfriend who was an escort who's now the vice president of a cosmetics company. She's a tycoon.
hmm
I have another girlfriend who's a very famous matchmaker on the East Coast. I have a friend who's a lawyer, an engineer, several wives and mothers who used to do what I do, and now they're in a different place in life. And so you can't really pigeonhole people because people change.
right, exactly,
And yeah, webcam girls, they're amazing. They're a little safer than we are because they don't meet people in person.
right,
That business is also very much about companionship and loneliness. Sure, it's about looks and sex appeal, but most cam girls have told me a lot of their clients or whatever you want to call them come in to literally just chat with them after a while.
hmm
They're friends in an online setting.
right, right.
That sounds great to me. I could go talk to some hot guy and I don't have to look good because I can see him, but he can't see me. That sounds fantastic. But so people are lonely, right? And so businesses that help people deal with loneliness are probably only going to thrive more in the coming decades, I suspect.
Right.
So
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of things, nowadays are all going online, and so of course companionship, it makes sense.
yeah. Well, but that's why I like aviation because you know what aviation does that online can't? It physically brings you to the people that you love.
That's true. That is true.
There is something about going to see people that you love and hugging them and smelling them and being near them that still the online world can't mimic.
That is true. That is true. That is very true.
Sometimes you need a hug.
So was there anything else that you wanted to talk about or promote, anything like that?
Well, I would like people to learn about FOSTA and SESTA, and please ask Donald Trump not to sign it.
Mm-hmm.
FOSTA and SESTA, and they're cloaked in sort of America's sexual hysteria, because in America we're terrified of sex, but we love violence.
True.
But they're really scary for freedom of internet speech, which covers any third-party content provider, including this podcast and every social media platform you guys all love to use. If you want the internet to continue to be free, as it has been for the beautiful 25 years that it's been alive so
Right.
far, talk to your legislators, call your senators. Like they're coming and they're regulating a lot more of internet, and it's just I don't want to see the internet turn into like the cable companies. So
Right, right. That was one of the nice things. I mean, I'm able to do what I do because I can.
right,
I
and
can.
this,
I can't host a cable show right now.
you can afford it.
Right.
Yeah, FOSTA and SESTA are going to allow anybody to sue you for any content that you post that a third party, like anything I said,
hmm
you be considered responsible for, even if you didn't agree with it or know it. And so the civil litigation is going to break small businesses. They will no longer start websites and podcasts and content creations. It's a real scary thing for free speech in general. So if the one that just passed the House, if it gets signed into law without any modifications, and it goes into law in January of 2019, then yeah, the internet will start to look very different. And I personally don't want that. I like a free internet. I think it's been a brilliant Wild West, an incredible creation that has created more jobs and creativity and wealth than anything in history. Um, and so, yeah, my little platform. You guys protect the free internet. Don't let them sign FOSTA and SESTA into law.
There we go. And for the people at home who'd like to follow you online, where can they do that?
Oh, so I'm on Instagram. It's Amy Taylor LA. Amy AMYTAYLOR LA. I'm also on Twitter, which is Amy Taylor 1. And then I have an official website, which is amytaylor.com.
So yeah, there we go. And Amy, first of all, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Oh, it's an honor. Thank you.
You're an absolute delight, and anytime you want to come back, just say the words.
Well, if you're willing to lend a platform to people like me, then I'd love to, and probably a lot of colleagues of mine would love to. And I can't thank you enough for humanizing people like us.
Absolutely. Like I said, we're all sharing this planet together. We're all people. Let's get along with every one of us.
Right. Thank you.
I know I'm speaking crazy talk, but
That was fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and you have a wonderful night. All right.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.